Hello, I'm just going to do a very spontaneous video because I had really nice feedback today of somebody I haven't seen for a while, and she said how much she enjoyed my videos. And if it helps even just one person, then do you know what? I'm really happy. Anything that I work with, that I help people with, as I say, just doing a video is totally spontaneous and unplanned. But if any of my words resonate with you and kind of help you understand who you are, that you're not at fault, that you have so much more to you than you've been programmed to believe. Because when I'm with somebody, particularly my clients, and they're telling me all about their limitations and what they're not, I see beyond that. I see beyond the programming. I see what's happened. And what's happened is when we're very young, whether it's our family unintentionally often or school, it we keep getting told what we're doing wrong all the time and suppressing our natural creativity. Children have no limitations in their mind. They don't question themselves until maybe they get to maybe about 7. Now, if you're telling a very small child, no, you're not doing this right and that's wrong, and they're gonna end up in a fear state, and they're gonna hold themselves back because they don't want to keep being told they're wrong. So it really starts putting the brakes on us as humans, with our potential, because we end up sort of living in fear and being judged. And then those beliefs, as I've mentioned before, can carry on like a blueprint for the rest of our life. And it's so sad that as humans we're limited, aren't we, by school or parenting. And it's not about blaming parents at all, because often people are doing their best and they don't know any different. So it's often with good intentions. I can't say about the school system. I won't go there, but it's not about blaming parents, but it is about limitations, and we are not limited. But unfortunately, if that's programmed into us when we were very young, we could end up believing we are this person who's wrong, that we're not enough. And one of the most fundamental things that I found with nearly everybody I work with is they don't believe they're enough. So I have it written. I could show you. I've got it in the mirror in here in my treatment room. I am enough. I write it on my mirrors, because once you know you're enough, you no longer need validation from any external source, whether that's people or things. People often, if they don't feel enough, they will often think, well, to make myself enough, I've got to show this better me to the world. So it may be material possessions. For them, it may think, well, that will make me a better person or appear to be a better person. It will show me as successful or powerful. It's not where happiness is, though. It may be temporarily. It's nice to have nice things, for sure. But I'm talking about in your heart, who the essence. It's all just shallow stuff. And none of that stuff external to us is ever going to create lasting happiness. It may create temporary happiness while you've got it, it's all shiny and new. But is it going to last? No, anything changes, doesn't it? The perception in your mind when something's brand new, even in a relationship, it's wonderful. But give it a while, it's not quite the same, is it? The desire of it, the happiness does fade, because it's not where happiness belongs. It's never out there. It's not outside of us. But often people are seeking outside of themselves to find happiness, but they're looking in the wrong place. When you have real connection with people, when you connect with yourself as well, when you give, have you ever experienced happiness by giving or making someone happy? You know, seeing that pleasure. It could be just a small act. You know, it could just be making a stranger smile or helping somebody. How does that make you feel? You know, it's these little things, and it's about connecting with everybody on that level. It's not about ego, and ego is the thing that gets in our way, you know, causes the pain and the fear. I'm not going to go down that path too much unless people are willing to go there, because that can become a sensitive subject, you know, when we talk about the ego mind, the egoic mind. But it is the source of unhappiness. But we always think it's outside of us. If we're unhappy, we blame other people, other things for our unhappiness. But ultimately, everything's perception. You know, so what affects us won't necessarily affect somebody else, because their perception of the same thing could be completely different. So it's the filter that we see through in our life. It's not the external thing that's different. It's just how we're perceiving, because everything, absolutely everything we experience and we see and we feel is within our mind. It's not out there. And it can appear as if it's out there, but the way we perceive it is always within our mind. So what do we change? Do we change the external world for this? No, we can't. We can't change people. We can't change the world. We can maybe do something, make a small contribution to change, but we can't change the whole world. But what we can change is our perception of things. And this is what I help my clients with, you know, that it's everything's within the mind. And once you know that, you know you've got power, because that's where everything comes from. Your feelings, emotions, it all comes from the mind. But you can also detach from those things, particularly things from the past, traumas, and even things in the future, because at this moment in time, the past and the future don't exist right now. If you really think about that, they don't exist. They only exist within your mind, your past and your future. So your past has gone, it's a void right now. And you may have memories, and I've discussed before, memories aren't always reliable. We may think they are, and often when I regress somebody, they see like the bigger picture. It's not quite what they remembered. Or if you think about the future at this moment is only in your imagination. That's what worry is. Worry is only imagination, it's not real. So a lot of our thoughts, unless we're in the present time, aren't actually real, or they're not accurate. Most of our thoughts are not accurate. So don't take all your thoughts so seriously. You know, I've got so many things wrong. I've believed things, even now knowing what I know. You know, I've convinced myself of things, and then I've found out I'm completely wrong. You know, that's my perception. You know, maybe I felt paranoid about things, because that's sometimes to do with programming, experiences from the past. So if this can just help even slightly, or you know somebody else that's suffering with self-esteem, or you know they're limiting themselves, you are not limited. You're only limited within your own mind and your own beliefs. But those beliefs are not you. Remember that. They could be beliefs from somebody else's programming. So you can free yourself from that and be the best version of you. And it's never, ever too late. Ever too late. It can be, I work with people 60s, 70s that change their lives. It's never, ever too late to make a change. It could be happen like that. Often it does. You know, people get an insight and they switch off. There's methods and ways of working with it to remove the programming. So if we look at programming, I often have the analogy of, if you think of a computer, it's downloading information. The same with our mind, our unconscious, and it's running in the background all the time. But until we go into that particular program, we can then rewind that program and we can remove it And then what we do is we replace that old program with a new program. That's really important, that if we remove something from the mind, whether it's an unwanted habit, a trauma, you name it, anything, any addiction, anything, we've got to replace it with something positive. It's no good just removing it. So I have the analogy also that I've described before. So if you have a weed you want to get rid of, it's no good just pulling up the weed, even from the root, and just leaving it there. You've then got to plant the seeds within the mind of the things you do want. When you nurture those things you do want, you focus on them, you look after them, you nurture them, they will grow. So often our mind also is in the perception of, it can be a very negative one without us realising. We sometimes go, I don't want this, I don't want that. But what we're doing, it's like saying, don't think of a black cat. What happens? So our mind needs to really be focused on the goals we want to have, the things we want. And just a quick side note, I'm also a life coach. Not something I really advertised or really tell people about, but I am a qualified life coach, and I did that straight after my hypnotherapy training. And it was very NLP based. For those that don't know what NLP is, it's called Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So there's different tools and ways of working within the mind. Very powerful techniques, a lot of them, and they often go alongside hypnotherapy. And I also do kinetic shift, timeline therapy, rewind, fast phobia cure, lots and lots of different methods of helping people release themselves from their old programming. So you're never stuck. You're never ever stuck with all these beliefs. You're not stuck with them. You can, there's different ways of removing them. And for you to understand you're not your programming and you're not your beliefs, you know, how many beliefs did you have as a child that you really, really believed in that you don't now? You know, beliefs change. They're flexible. The mind's flexible. And it's called neuroplasticity, where we can change the mind or the brain. You know, it's very adaptable. But people often say, no, I'm too old. No, you're never too old to make change. Never, ever. Live the rest of your life, whatever's left, you know, in the best way possible. Be the best version of you. Live the rest of your life as healthy and happy as you can. You know, cherish every day that you wake up and make the most of it. You don't have to be suffering. If you have somebody that knows how to help, then there are people like myself out there that can make these changes, and ultimately you make the change. And all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, and we don't realise we're actually in hypnosis if we're really into thinking about the future in our imagination, or we're angry and we get in this state of single pointed focus sometimes, and it feels real even just thinking about those things. So often we hypnotise ourselves, we don't realise it, by our thoughts. We believe them. Anyway, I'm digressing. So I hope, you know, these little videos can in some way say help or inspire, give hope, whatever it is, because so many people I talk to feel stuck, and people are anxious and depressed, and that's not who you are. And when it comes to our feelings, often they go along with the physiology of our body. So if someone's depressed, they tend to be looking down. Everything's like downwards, isn't it? So often with depressed clients of mine, I say start looking up, look at chimneys, look at upwards, because that's doing the opposite to what they normally do, which is all very downwards, isn't it? Depression is often the body, the eyes look down, you know, because you feel down. You know, you look up. It makes a difference, just changing your physiology. So think about the body posture of somebody who's relaxed as opposed to someone who's stressed. And there is something you can do to change this within 2 minutes, only 2 minutes. It's called a power pose. And you stand up. Some people call it Superwoman pose. But I like the yes pose as a power pose. So you stand up for 2 minutes, time it, and you put your hands in the air like this. Hold that pose for 2 minutes, and I promise you'll feel different. And you can look it up. I believe it's Brené Brown that spoke about it on maybe a TED talk. But it's a fact, a scientific fact, that our physiology changes what's going on in our mind, and vice versa, you know. So if you're playing the part of someone depressed, you're going to be doing certain body actions for that. Imagine you're an actor and you're going to play a depressed person. You're not going to be lively and full of energy, are you? You're not going to be looking up. You're going to be very, and you're going to speak slowly, and you're going to be looking down. But think about if you're playing a part of somebody that's happy. Very different body language. You know, you're going to be energetic. You're going to speak quicker. You're going to have more energy and, you know, be more active. So you can change how you feel through your body. It's very powerful. Anyway, I'm again talking lots, as I like to. I ought to just, I say I don't plan my videos, so I do digress and go off track. But anyway, it's nice to know that at least one person enjoys the videos, or it may help them. Then that's great. Anyway, take care everyone, and thank you for watching, and please share if you know anybody that could do with any help. Thank you.